Hi folks, Ricky Tang here, and today you find me, courtesy of BMW Cotswold Motorrad, on a BMW S1000RR. If you have seen my channel before, welcome back. If you haven't, welcome. I am a bit of a BMW fanboy. I have owned a BMW S1000RR. That was a second gen, kind of 2019 model. I've owned a BMW R1250R, big boxer twin. And I currently own an S1000XR. And every time I get on an S1000RR, there has been a couple of times, I say to myself, I couldn't own one of these. And it's the age-old story. It's the riding position. Yeah, my desire for proper sporty motorbikes kind of ended somewhat with the S1000R. And the annoying thing, or the thing that became annoying, became grating in my ownership, was the height of the foot pegs. I was already doing some YouTube videos back when I owned the single R, and I noted very clearly every time I test rode another motorbike, then got back on my single R, I always had to lift my foot a good inch higher than I really wanted to get it back on the foot peg. It's unsurprising, really. You know, that bike is a derivative of the S1000RR. But every time I had to kind of fold my legs up to get back on the foot pegs, it kind of put me off. And eventually I part exchanged the single R for the R1250R. Partly because I'm a sucker for a torquey engine, and partly because I wanted a more of an uncoiled riding position. But the compromise with the R1250R, and to some extent the S1000XR, is weight. This is a subjective opinion, of course, but just like the foot peg started to grate on me with the single R during my ownership, the weight of the R1250R and the weight of my XR, even though it's not a particularly heavy bike, yeah, the weight on those bikes are also a little bit off-putting for me. So I admire this RR, this motorbike, very much, but most of the time I end up saying to myself, I don't think I could see it in my garage or in my shed. Riding the bike today is another chance for me to revisit that opinion. I do know that the foot pegs have not got any lower, so still quite a bit of a leg lift to get your feet on the pegs. And the handlebars, yeah, they're pretty low. Let me show you that, shall I, if I can get the camera down here. Oh, gotta stop anyway. Yes, the handlebars are pretty low, but the handling is neutral. It doesn't feel front heavy. Not all of your body weight is resting on the bars. And so, although undoubtedly I'm a lot further forward and tilted forward than I would like, it's not really uncomfortable. Not yet anyway. It's early days. But the frightening thing in these early miles is just how easy it could potentially be to break speed limit. Potentially. Wow. My BMW XR, that feels fast, especially over 6,000 RPM. That is a fast bike, undoubtedly. that hasn't got the shift cam motor, that hasn't got the variable valve timing that this has. And this is 20 kilos lighter approximately than my XR. So yeah, there's another level to this bike's performance once you start getting into the upper rev range. But what I want to know for riding on the road are the answers to questions like this. I'm in third gear. Yeah, how well does it pick up for overtaking from mid-range, from lower mid-range? I think by the time I started that overtake, I was probably at about 5,000 RPM. And it picked up bloody quick. It almost took me by surprise. So, it's been 20 miles or so. Am I screaming in pain? Are my joints freezing up? No, I'm okay. To be honest with you. Not quite as bad as I expected it to be. Or not quite as bad as I remembered it to be. Your mind does play tricks on you well, as the years pass by. It's been a couple of years since I've been on one of these. One thing that is apparent is vibrations through the clip-ons. The right clip-on is a bit buzzier than the left, and I'm feeling it in my fingers and my palm of my hand. My previous experiences on an S1000RR have been quite limited. I had one as a courtesy bike when one of my bikes was being serviced, and I didn't ride it for very long. And I've done a BMW track experience day at Donington a couple of years ago, where you just rode it on the track. And then it was actually raining to damp to drying, but the conditions weren't ideal. So today will be my longest spin on an RR, and it is a very tempting proposition for many reasons. That'll do. I'm still in road mode. That was very quick, but it felt very much under control. The front didn't lift much. I suspect in road mode it actively tries to keep the front wheel down, and that limits acceleration. But it felt extremely fast. Having said that, I think it's time to switch to dynamic riding mode. That was third gear, and wow, the way it can overtake things has to be felt to be believed. But we're back into another 30 limit. And that's where this bike is somewhat less fun. Having said that, I'm in second gear here, 25 miles per hour, and it will still let me put cruise control on. So you can sit up with cruise control on and chill for a while until you get to the next delimit sign and do this. I think at this point I should give a shout out to the suspension. I haven't looked at the settings yet, but it's not as harsh as I was expecting on these rather rubbish back roads here in Gloucestershire. Yeah, quite a lot of compliance and bump absorption. It doesn't feel stiff. Doesn't feel uncomfortable, really. A few years ago I had ridden a Aprilia Tuono 1100 factory, I think, and that suspension felt almost otherworldly. That was really very good. at dealing with these roads. This bike's a bit more committed than that bike, so I can't expect the same. However, I am impressed. Yes, I was suspecting the suspension would have annoyed me a bit by now, and it hasn't. And what is nice, while I'm sitting here at 6,000 RPM in second, it's a bit extreme. The vibes are gone from the handlebars pretty much, but they are certainly present at other revs. Yeah, it's almost like a game of chase the vibrations. Depending on the revs, they could be in the tank, in the seat, in the bars. They move around at different revs. Certainly more present than the vibrations I feel on my XR BM. For the XR, they did go through quite some lengths to minimize the vibration. I just can't quite believe that BMW built such a vibratory engine. How many years of has this engine ultimately been available? Did the first RR appear in 2010? Maybe earlier? And I've sampled a few examples of the breed, and they all vibrate. They all could do better. Yeah, I think it feels like the fan is going to be on all day on this bike, or throughout the entire ride. Every time I slow down, the fan's already on. I don't actually hear it start and stop. Wow, I've just noticed, which is kind of makes sense for a sports bike, I just moved my bottom backwards, and you can move it a long way back. There's a lot of space at the front now. That's what you want for a bike that might go onto the track. By comparison with my XR, it's a second generation one with that terrible bucket seat, which locks you in position. This was not a great design choice there by BMW. But this is a roomy motorbike by comparison, really, if you can live with the ergonomics. Obviously I can't ride with complete disregard to the laws of the road. I definitely feel front end lift control, aka wheelie control, doing its thing, even in dynamic mode. That is keeping the front end not exactly glued to the floor, but it's not allowing a lot of lift, which I'm grateful for because I'm still getting used to the bike. And I would like to steer occasionally. Thank you very much. Ah, 6,000 to 7,000 RPM puts you in the right spot to really fire down the road. A couple of months ago, I was doing this road on an R1300RS, and I was amazed by the suspension quality, the damping quality, and the stability of that bike on this road. This isn't as stable as that. There's no two ways about it. But the compliancy and the handling of the bumps, that is really impressive. And another thing you'll be unsurprised to hear is that the front brake is really strong. Very strong. And it's one of those setups that does feel a little bit grabby if you pull the front lever in quickly. At the same time, there's no surprises with it. It's just very powerful and slows you up really rather quickly. Back brake, not much to it. Not a lot of feel, not a lot of power. Well, sure, there's just enough to pull you into the apex like your top rack once the back wheel gets back on the ground. Right, I'm doing a UE because I haven't got long before I have to return this bike back to the showroom. Oh, here's a thing that I'm quite impressed with. The steering lock, the steering angle. It's wider than I expected. Wider than some less sporty motorbikes. If you had big hands, I think you'd trap your thumbs a little bit against the tank on the full lock. But I'd rather have more steering lock than less steering lock. This year I've been riding proper track prepared bikes on the track, and with those bikes, with those ergonomics, which are a bit more extreme than this, we're in Daytona 765 and two R6s, a bit more compact and a bit more cramped than this. But when you get on the track, you know what to expect. Your body is ready for it, and you also know you're only going to be on the bike for about 20-30 minutes at a time. This, for me, is a different proposition. In my head, when I get on a road bike, my brain pictures me riding like this, basically, not like this. Having said that, this ride is showing me that I think I could own something like this. And that's partly because of the fun and excitement the bike will bring, and partly because I actually am finding the riding position manageable, much to my surprise. My concern is I also found my S1000R to be more than manageable in the early days, until I started to think about my leg angle and the height of the foot pegs. For longer term ownership, that proved to be a problem where it wasn't in the first instance. I think what this bike's missing a little bit is a sense of occasion, and what I mean by that is noise. This is one of the highest performing machines on the road. The acceleration that not many other vehicles can match. But it just doesn't sound like it. On my XR, I've replaced the headers. I had the ECU flash. And there's more pops and bangs that you can hear. And the bike's a little bit louder than stock. And that is much to my liking. So, yeah, if I owned an RR, something like that would have to happen. If I'm not using all the throttle tube, winding it right back, then my XR isn't that much slower really than this. But there's more in this bike when it comes to the power. I've stalled it again. 3 times I've stalled this bike today. So yeah, my XR isn't a million miles behind this bike in terms of performance on the road. But we got the lightness with this bike and the higher performance potential. And yeah, the ability to just gather more speed when you do twist that throttle tube all the way back. Yeah, my XR isn't that fast. Dang! There are some attributes for this bike that make it mighty tempting. So here it is in all its glory, the S1000RR Sport. Now, I did start pricing one up on the configurator. And once I had it where I wanted it, sport mode, dynamic pack, forged wheels, yeah, I like forged wheels. I got them on the XR, and I do think they make a difference. Yeah, I think we were at £22,000 at that point. But this ride has started some cogs turning in my head. The bike is not as extreme as I made it out to be in my head. In fact, when I was thinking of a title for this video, I thought I had the perfect title for this video. I was going to title it, "If Only I Was 20 Years Younger." But I'm now thinking, if I were to sell my Suzuki GSX-8R, wouldn't get a huge amount of money for that, but it could go towards a used example of an RR. My intention at this point would be to keep the XR, because I do enjoy that bike a lot and I like the riding position and the performance. But this bike, or bikes like it, give the potential to provide life-affirming experiences. This bike does look quite stunning, and that's another thing. This has got a tick in the box compared to the Suzuki living in my shed at the moment. This is the kind of bike that you would look back at when you're shutting the shed door at the end of the day. Suzuki, not so much. I do like the Suzuki a lot, but I think I might like this a lotter more. Like I said a little while ago during a walk around, I thought the title of this video could have been "If Only I Were 20 Years Younger." Well, now I think the new title of this video is "I Want One." I've had a surprisingly emotional reaction to this bike. Despite this bike having the potential to be an absolute nutter, it's also pretty accessible. I remember I think both the Missenden Flyer and Lamb Chops describing this bike as having the potential of being a sports tourer. I wouldn't go that far as to say I would relish the idea of riding across France or Spain on it. But certainly I think I'm much more happy with the idea of doing a 200-mile day on one of these than I thought I would be. Better have a little summary then now. I'm not far away from BMW Cotswold. Wow, the air is so hot here, it's hard to breathe in. Pros. Well, just about everything. What a capable piece of machinery this is. Every question I've asked of the bike today, it's answered correctly. And the engine performance from, let's say, 4,000 upwards, as it quickly rises in the right gear, is nothing short of phenomenal, really. And I like all the mod cons that the bike contains as well, including hill hold, cruise control, heated grips. The only real con, as I see it on this bike, is vibration. It's frequently felt through the bars, depending on what revs you're running at. And I've no doubt it's got the potential to make your fingers go white and tingly. So if you've seen my channel before and maybe know my opinions on road bikes like this, and are as surprised as I am about the way this video's ended up and my thoughts on the bike, then hopefully I'll see you in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, please do the like and subscribe thing. I really appreciate it, and it helps the channel, because after 6 years it's still quite a small channel. Could do with a little bit of growth. And yeah, if you like what I've done here in the video, then I may see you in another one again soon. Until then, take care. Ta-ra.